This next chapter is going to be entirely dedicated to working with color in CorelDRAW X4. Now, believe me when I say we could dedicate an entire title to working with color. That's how powerful CorelDRAW is. But the idea behind this chapter is to get you feeling comfortable with things like color palettes and some of the tools that we're going to be used for filling objects and their outlines. We'll look at the eyedropper tool and the paint bucket tools, as well as something called the Smart Fill tool later on. Right now, though, in this lesson, let's build our foundation by covering color palettes. Now, color palettes allow you to access millions and millions of different colors and color combinations. So far, we've been using the default color palette that appears over here on the right-hand side of our screen. This is our default CMYK color palette. If you don't know this already, CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. In this color model, those four colors are combined to give you the different shades and the different color combinations you're used to seeing when working with objects. Now, this color palette also is by default docked on the right-hand side of our screen here. And we're not seeing all of the colors. These little wells or color swatches are the first bunch of colors that appear in this palette. And down at the bottom is a little arrow button here with a line in front of it. Clicking this will expand the palette to show me all of the color swatches in the palette. So I can select from any of these colors if I wanted to. I'm going to click outside of this to collapse it back. Now you'll notice it's kind of like a scroll bar. There are buttons at the bottom and at the top for scrolling through the colors as well. So if I click the down arrow here, I'm actually going to scroll through the different colors in this palette. We'll go back to the top, clicking the up arrow. Now that's just one of many, many palettes you can choose from. At the very top of a palette, when you see this little swatch with the X through it, that represents no color at all. In other words, no fill. When it comes to the next lesson and we start filling up our objects, you'll see what I mean. Now let's go up to the window menu here for a second, because I want to show you that under color palettes, there's lots to choose from. We could have no color palettes, first of all. Right now, we do have a check mark next to our default CMYK palette, and that's the one we see on the right-hand side. But we can have multiple color palettes at our disposal here just by selecting them. If I wanted to go to my uniform colors, I can click on it here, and I've got a second palette open up now. And it has many colors and color swatches as well. Clicking the expansion button down at the bottom allows me to scroll through lots and lots of colors. It has more swatches than the default. Clicking out here will collapse that. Now, color palettes, kind of like Dockers, can be floating palettes. In other words, I can go up to the top because I see those three dots at the top of both of these color palettes. When I see my four-sided arrow, I can click and drag to float that color palette. These are my uniform colors. I could dock it between my Dockers and my actual file. When I get in there, you can see how it's docked. Still holding my mouse button down, though, I can bring it right into my drawing area if I wanted to have easy access to all of these colors. When I don't want an actual color palette anymore, I could go back to the window menu and deselect it, or just close it by clicking the close button in the top right corner. Let's go back up to window now and down to color palettes, because over on the right, you'll notice a number of Pantone color palettes. A lot of the pre-press or print shops that are out there around the world basically use these color sets. So if you're using any of these palettes as you're creating work in CorelDRAW, you can feel confident that when you send this off to be professionally printed, they're going to have the same colors and it's going to turn out the way you expect it. We can also open up palettes using the Open Palette button. Now we're going to talk about creating your own palettes, and here's where you go to open them. The Color Palette Browser will also allow us to search for palettes and from a one-stop shop turn on and off all the palettes that we want. So let's give this a click. Color Palette Browser. Opens up a Docker here known as my Color Palette Browser. I've got fixed palettes, custom palettes. Any I create will fall under users palettes. There's my default CMYK, and I can also have the default RGB palette here by clicking this checkbox. Now I've got both. RGB standing for red, green, and blue. Combine those to get all of the different color combinations. I'm going to turn that one off, but I'm going to go up to my fixed palettes. And here are some of the palettes that we saw right from the window menu under color palettes, some of our Pantones. If I wanted my web-safe colors, I would go over here and click in this checkbox to turn that on. These are all the colors I would use when creating objects that will be displayed over the web. So I know that I'm using colors that people will be able to see. I can turn on True Match colors. You can see now I've got my 3 palettes open. I can turn them all on from here just by clicking checkboxes, and of course turn them off from here as well. So I'm going to turn all of those off, go back to the top, and minimize my fixed palettes. We also have custom palettes. This I love. Check it out under CMYK, for example. If I'm going to be working on a project that deals with nature, well, I could click on the plus sign next to nature, and I've got all kinds of color palettes that would deal with different parts of nature. For example, rainbow. If I click on that, there's the colors of the rainbow and all the different shades in between. If I go to jungle, I bet you I'm going to see some greens in here. Sure enough. Earth tones, look at them all. And of course I can deselect them all from here by deselecting their checkboxes and minimizing that folder. I'm going to minimize custom palettes and go down to users palettes. When I click the plus sign, there's really only one in there, my custom spot colors. You're going to see that too. When we create our own color palette, it's going to show up here under user palettes. So let's leave this open and let's create our own. We can go up to the window menu, down to color palettes. We've already got our file open from the Lesson 6 folder, Color Menu 1. Go over here and down near the bottom, notice Create Palette from Document. This is cool. It sounds complicated, but it's really easy. We give it a click, give it a name. I'm going to type in green onion, just like that. And when I click the Save button, it's done. All that's happened is CorelDRAW's analyzed all of the colors being used in this file and created a palette out of it over here and opened it automatically from my color palette browser. So these are the colors that I've used in this particular file so far. If I was to add a new page and maybe create the back of the menu, start adding objects, I know that I'm going to be using the same colors by using this color palette on those objects. Now under user palettes, I see my green onion, and of course I can turn it off at any time, collapse that section, and when I'm done with the color palette browser, close it by clicking the close button right up here. So those are some of the color palettes, some of the options. Some of the other options you can access from the play button that appears at the top. This little circle with the arrow in it, I call it the play button. When I click on it, I'm going to see a pop-up menu. Here I can set outline and fill color defaults. By default, you'll see in the next lesson, there is no fill and there's a black outline when you're starting a new file. Look at under palette, I can create new palettes from here, brand new blank one, and just add colors. I can open my new one called Green Onion right from here. I can save a palette, save it as something else, and close palettes from here as well. Under Edit, I can access my palette editor. I can also find colors. And then down below, the default can be set from here as well. Because I clicked on the play button at the top of my CMYK color palette, I see the check mark. It is the default. I can show those color names, scroll to the start or the end of my palette, and even customize it. When I go up to my window menu now and go down to color palettes, and I want to go down to open a palette. Where am I going to open from? The palettes folder. And down here you can see I've got some other folders like CMYK. There's those nature and people and things, for example, so I can open them from here. I'm going to click cancel. Go back up to my window menu down to Dockers this time. And let's access our color palette browser from Dockers. I'm going to go into user palettes. I'm going to click on my green onion. Click the play button above my own palette here called Green Onion. And come down and I can start doing things like editing using the palette editor. I like this. Shows me all of the colors in here. If there's a color I wanted to change like this dark green, I could go in there, click on the edit color button. This opens up my select color dialog box where I can choose from different models, RGB, CMYK. You can see the old and the new. So if I wanted to choose a different color, that's what it would become. I could use mixers to mix up colors. Go to my palettes as well if I wanted to. There's the jungle palette. Choose something similar. That might be the one. When I click OK, I will have edited that color. I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to click cancel. I could also add colors to this palette if I wanted to, clicking the add button. Maybe I want another shade of green in there. I select it here, click close. Now I've got a new shade of green in there to work with. I can delete colors I don't want and even sort colors. Clicking sort colors allows me to put them in reverse or sort them by brightness, let's say. So in this case, it goes from the darker ones all the way up to the brighter ones. I could come down and sort by the name if I wanted to. And I can also reset the palette. This will discard all the changes that I made to the palette to this point. I have to confirm by clicking yes. Removes that one I added. Click OK. And there's my palette on the right. I'm going to close up the color palette browser. And I'm also going to close up my palette. So I'm going to go up to the top here, just float it out here, and click the close button right from there. So those are your color palettes. In the next lesson, we're going to use color palettes to start filling up objects with colors, patterns, and even textures.